Look, Lieutenant Oa can kick some ass. I would not want to go in a ring with her. Star Trek Discovery is back. Hello, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume. Things like Doctor Who, things like Red Dwarf, and things like Star Trek. And yes, I do apologise, I did not review the last episode before Discovery went on a little break. I was busy. I was really busy that week, and lots of things going on, and I just didn't get around to reviewing it. I thought about going back and reviewing it just before this one, but I thought too much time has passed. So to give my brief summary of what I thought of the previous episode, from what I can vaguely remember, I really liked it. I loved the Zora stuff, and especially... And I can't really remember much else about it, but I do remember coming away thinking that was one of my favourite episodes of the series so far. Possibly my favourite episode of the series so far, the last episode. Lots of good stuff, especially... Oh, and Booker and him dealing with that stuff leading into the ending, which then leads into this episode. So today we're talking about Series 4, or Season 4, if you want to get American about this. Episode 8... All In. There are going to be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, go away, watch it, come back, and then watch this review. This isn't a review to decide whether or not to watch it. This is just my general thoughts that are going to involve spoilers. I really liked the Booker and Michael dynamic here. I've loved them as a couple. I think they have great chemistry. I've loved them as a couple. I've loved them in most of their scenes together. I've really enjoyed, and this is no exception, but it's a very different angle from what we've seen them be together before, because now... they are on opposite sides. They are enemies, effectively. Enemies is a bit of a strong word, but they are adversaries in this, both fighting to get the same thing. And effectively, Burnham is out to stop Booker and Tarka's plan to do what they want to do and destroy the anomaly, potentially causing a massive diplomatic incident or war, whatever they think is going to happen. They want to, because the Federation has decided that it's going to approach it peacefully first to find out what the people behind it want before they take any military action against it. But Tarka and Booker want to go in and blow it up. So they're going to do that, but they need some material. What did I write down what it was called? Was it something like isolilium or something like that? ISO something. But they need some, so they've gone to a broker that Booker knows, and conveniently, Burnham also knows this broker outside of the Federation. This is, and has gone to there under the guise of her mission to get intel on how they might form first contact with the race behind this. She needs to get some star charts, but she also thinks the Booker is going to be there. So that's kind of like on the, like, from the Admiral going like, hey, this is your mission, but, you know, any means, if you can find a loophole to also find Booker, that would be great. And she does. I really like the fact that we are going outside of the Federation here, because where the Federation doesn't have jurisdiction, returning to that world of sort of more seedy underworld that we got a glimpse of in Series 3 at the beginning before they found the Federation, where there's the couriers, the brokers, and this kind of much more lawless Wild West society. And I like that. That's good. I like seeing that again. I'm glad we've come back to that, and we're not just focusing just within the Federation and their allies anymore. We're out in the Wild West of space now. I think it's an interesting dynamic to return to, and an interesting sort of setup that we get here. Booker has kind of put Burnham in a really awkward position, because obviously they had a very personal relationship, romantically entwined. I always thought it was a bit strange how he was on the ship, especially when he was on the bridge. It kind of felt a bit like he was like the captain's concubine in a way. It was a bit strange how he was just sort of there on the bridge. I could kind of, obviously families have existed and spouses and loved ones have been on ships, you know, for a while, certainly since the Next Generation time. So him being on the ship never felt particularly weird, but him being right there on the bridge always felt, standing next to Burnham felt a little bit weird. But now he's put her in a massively awkward position where she has to go after him, or he's become her adversary, because he's taken this action that the Federation has condoned and Starfleet has condoned. And effectively, he's now a criminal, and she's the law. So they kind of are on opposite sides now. Will there be a way back from this? Later things in the episode imply that no, for their relationship, there probably isn't a way back. But we'll see. I kind of like this new dynamic. It's interesting. Because surely even if he comes back now, he's going to be arrested. Although Tarka does say that he thinks that if they succeed and save the Federation from this anomaly, that the sort of overwhelming sense of thankfulness will get them pardons. But I don't know. I mean, we have seen it before with things like James T. Kirk stealing the Enterprise and committing many crimes, but then going on to save the universe, or at least Earth, from things, and he gets pardoned. So, I don't know, maybe, but I have a feeling that kind of goes against the values of the Federation, and that probably he's going to end up in prison if he comes back to Federation space. But we'll see. So they kind of both convene at this kind of like gambling, casino den, shady underworldy place. And I love the guy running this. I tried to look up who the actor was, but he wasn't. The episode cast weren't listed fully on IMDb at this point. I'm sure I recognise the actor. So if you know who played that part, can you put in their name in the comments below? Because I want to look them up and see, because I'm sure his voice, the way his face looked under, it's very hard under prosthetics to recognise people, but there was something about his voice. I recognised him. And he was great throughout the episode. Definitely the standout character of the episode. I just loved his whole way he interacted with everyone. He's shady, but he's also kind of likeable, you know, and I'd like to see more of that guy. So we get in this situation where both Booker and Michael are there trying to get this isolinium. Again, I can't remember what it was called. And this guy, the broker guy, just wants the most he can get out of it. So he's tasked Booker and Tarka with sourcing out the person that's cheating him in the casino and counting cards. Then we've got Burnham just offering Latinum, but she needs to win some more of it in order to be able to pay him. So we got those two plot lines going on, and they're kind of competing with each other. They're both there. They both know they're there. They get some nice little dialogue between each other. You know, what are you doing here? I've got to stop you. Blah, 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 blah. All very lovely stuff. And I like how the two plots about how they're going about trying to win this contest. Tarka and Booker are trying to uncover this card counter, this person who's cheating the casino. And it turns out to be what they refer to as a changeling. Now, is this the changeling's changeling, or is this just a generic term for somebody who can change? I don't know. But the visual effects didn't really give it away because it was less goopy, more kind of dissolvey. But maybe, I don't know. I don't know what we don't know what the changelings are doing at this point in the future. Maybe one of them is just a petty criminal. Who knows what's happened to the Dominion in this time. But the more interesting one was Oa and Burnham's little ploy to win the money, which they initially do through entering Oa in a fight competition. She'd had a previous plot point in one of the episodes about sort of refusing to stand down when she was told to by Saru, and they'd had a conversation about that on the way over. Kind of comes into play here when she's fighting, because she gets beaten once, beaten twice, and Burnham's like, I want you to stop. And she's like, no, I can do it again. Let me do it again. That kind of drive, that perseverance, which then plays into a conversation she has with Tarka later on as well, and that she kind of understands why he did what he did. Oh, where this is. And she talks about how, like, yeah, I can understand if you think this way needs to be done and everyone's telling you no, that's frustrating. She's not siding with him particularly, but she's understanding of his motivations at least, and she kind of delves into that. Was a really interesting talk actually between the two of them about why he's doing it, who has he lost, and that she also has lost people. And it was one of the nice moments where we get to see some development for the bridge crew that we don't often, one of the kind of like secondary characters, the bridge crew that we don't see much of. They've been peppering things this season, but every time they have, filling in a bit of backstory for one of these characters. it has always felt a little bit forced and like, hey, let's stop the plot. So this character can say, well, there was this one time when I was a boy that this happened to me, and it makes me think about this time now. And it always kind of feels a bit forced. But here, it worked actually really well, felt really natural, and blended into the plot. It felt like that is a moment she would say that. So unlike those times, and it happened, I think, with Owa in another episode, where it kind of felt a bit forced, it kind of worked here. So that was a lovely scene. But it turns out, actually, they're just hustling the fight, and she's a pretty kick-ass fighter, and she takes him down on the third go when the odds have gotten worse and worse for her winning, or better and better, whichever way around it is. And so they've won the most money they can. And they win the money that they need, more than enough to buy the stuff. But unfortunately, so Booker has also found the culprit at exactly the same time, and so there's kind of a draw of who gets it. So they're going to play a card game to bet for it. But some of the Emerald Chain people that are still lingering around, trying to rebuild the Emerald Chain, pop up and also want to go for it as well. So there's an interesting bit where Michael, and actually two interesting bits where Michael and Booker have to work together, because they, at one point, somebody attacks them. The people that have been hustled attack Michael, and then Booker needs some help with catching the changeling, so both of them help each other there, and they also agree to help each other in the game to get the Emerald Chain people out of the game, because neither of them want the Emerald Chain getting hold of this. They both know that they're the bad Emerald Chain of the actual bad, they're bad guys. They don't want them. Neither of them wants that. So they kind of work together during the game, signals to each other to get the other two out, and then it's a head-to-head against both of them. And who's going to win? Who's going to get that thing? It was a tense game, and they have a conversation during it, which basically is like, if you do this, Michael saying to Booker, if you do this, if you win this, there's no going back. You'll have burnt all your bridges. And Booker asks, even the bridge between us? And the look, I can't remember if she actually directly addresses that or just sort of the look on her face, but essentially, yes, she's saying, even the bridge between us, she'll have to be tasked to stop him, and she'll be one of the weapons Starfleet use against him, and she will have to do whatever she has to do to stop him. So they are now firmly in adversarial territory here, but they still have feelings for each other, and that's a really interesting dynamic, and I'm really interesting to see where that plays out. That was a very interesting scene to watch. But Booker does win, but it turns out, I like the fact that she knew he was going to win, because she's seen him play before, and she knows he's a really good player. And even though she wasn't trying to lose, she was trying to win, but she knew he's a better player. So she had a contingency plan, which was to put a tracker on it so they can at least follow them. And we get that exposition when we get back to Starfleet, and then she's debriefing both the Admiral and the President of the Federation. So I really enjoyed this episode. It's definitely up there in this season's episode. Not right at the top, but definitely sort of up there as one of my favourite episodes. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a interesting sort of bottle episode in a way, because most of it took place in one location, in one room, effectively. It was an interesting plot, and I really enjoyed it. We also got a very brief bit back on the ship about most of the episode was contained within there, but we did get a bit back in the ship about Culber and him feeling like he had failed Booker because he had left. So it's kind of continuing Culber's issues around him feeling stressed and his anxiety and dealing with the things he's dealing with. I like the fact that he was cleaning. And that's how, when Stamets comes in and says, like, you're clearly stressed, you're cleaning, the ship cleans for us. And then there's the little droid thing running around, and these Culber's like, no, don't do that, and snapping at the droid. I want this future. I want the future where my house just cleans itself, please. Can we have that? I've got one of those robot vacuum cleaners, the circular disc things, but it's not that great. It just keeps on breaking. So we need this future where the house cleans itself, please. That would be good. But it was nice to see a little bit from them as well. Check in with them, check in with one of the other characters. But mostly, It was a Burnham, a Booker, a Taka. I haven't said much about Taka, but I am really enjoying watching Taka as well. He's an arrogant arsehole, but he is interesting to watch. And also Oa, who has probably the best episode for her development and just seeing like what her character is than we've had so far, I would say. So good to see that as well. What did you think of the episode? Let me know in the comments below, and I will hopefully be back for next week's episode. I do need to send my laptop that I edit these on off for some kind of repair because it's making some very strange noises. So at some point there might be a break in me reviewing, but might not be next week. I don't know. We'll see. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.